Hey dudes, what's up? My name is Levante and this is Autistic Success. And now we are back again. So actually, I have just taken some time off work, which I really needed because I'm pretty much in a burnout at this moment. And I really don't want to go back to my main job, especially because I'm starting my business. So I would like to talk again about jobs today and especially 9 to 5 jobs and especially so-called jobs which are supposed to be good to for autistic people, because I think that most of the advice is BS, or at least for me it has been BS in my life. So a lot of people say, or generally if you Google like what jobs should I do as an autistic person, then they would tell you, yeah, go into science or STEM or engineering or maybe arts or like some handyman thing. And while some of these suggestions can be decent or actually pretty good, I think most of the advice is rubbish. At least for me, it has been. So let's start with the most obvious one, because that's science. I am coming from science. I did a PhD in chemistry here in Switzerland. And let me tell you, science is, at least in my opinion, definitely not for autistics, because modern day science is all about politics, networking, basically storytelling, and the quality of your work is like it has like a second meaning maximum. So it's really not like the pioneering science of like 100 years ago, like Einstein or like Niels Bohr, or whatever. It's nothing like that. It's all about connections, politics, networking, summing up to professors. And the other thing is that you have to be extremely agreeable. And in a lot of cases, that was not the case necessarily for me. I had great luck in this sense. But in most cases, you have to be able to accept extreme micromanaging and very little level of professional freedom. I mean, you do have a huge level of freedom in lifestyle, that's true. And I think that's definitely something to appreciate. But professional freedom is, in my opinion, in science, insanely little. As long as you are not a professor, which is like 1% maybe, or like 5. For all the rest, all the undergrads, PhD students, postdocs, whatever, you have very little professional freedom because you are all bound by your supervisors, or actually also by all the academic structure, all the bureaucracy, papers, grants. So basically, you always have to play insane level of politics to get money, to get support, to be able to work or like use the labs or machines of other groups, whatever. So this is my experience, that this is probably the biggest BS, that science is for autistics. Maybe it used to be for autistics like 100 years ago, where actually your performance and your cognitive capabilities mattered. But nowadays it's not. It's all bloated. It's all, I'm sorry, but it's all quota based. Um, the quality of PhD students, what I saw, was insanely low. And I'm talking here Switzerland, not like some poor country. So at least here in Switzerland, you would expect that the best of the best, creme de la creme, are selected, but it's not the case, because unis want simply cheap labor. So basically, they all hire PhD students from China with their own grants from the Chinese state. And let me tell you, the quality of these PhD students are mostly not very good. There are exceptions, obviously, but this is my experience. So modern day science is everything but not for autistics. And I'm not even talking now about quotas, female quotas, these type of quotas. So it's all nonsense. And if you are disagreeable, at least a bit or moderate level, then you are going to suffer big time, because it's all about yes saying, people pleasing, sucking up. You are extremely hyper micromanaged by your supervisor and oftentimes even other members of your group. So modern day science, in my experience, is not for autistics. It might have been 100 years ago, but not anymore. Another thing which I think is not for autistics is pretty much any 9 to 5 office job, with the exception if it's mostly or fully remote. Because if it's mostly or fully remote, I think it's a very good deal for autistics. I think it's very good. And then probably, I'm not saying it doesn't even matter, but then the area of your job, if it's a 100% remote office job, then it doesn't matter if you do marketing or engineering. Probably you are going to have still a good work-life balance and satisfactory work life. But let me tell you, and as I'm working in an office as an R&D manager, so engineering basically, on-site 9 to 5 jobs, it doesn't matter if it's engineering or marketing or graphic design, I think are not suitable for autistics. None of them. And it's not because of the job itself, because it can be even your special interest. So it can be highly interesting actually, or satisfactory even, maybe. Mostly not, but maybe. But the problem with any type of office 9 to 5 job is the insane level of office politics. The other colleagues who you are competing with, and you either going to be much, much better in some areas, which is going to bring a lot of hate with it for you, or you are going to be really sucking in other areas, which is also not going to be acceptable. So your autistic, highly unbalanced skill set is going to cause a lot of issues in any 9 to 5 office job, especially on site. So this is my experience, that even though you might be actually liking what you do, the whole environment is going to make you suffocate pretty much. And I'm not even talking about sitting in a loud office, especially like an open office, having like a 1 square meter cubicle for yourself, sitting there 8, 9, 10 hours a day, commuting there. It's insanely draining, and it's not going to be satisfactory. So this is, I think, is also like a giant mystery, or at least in my opinion, BS, that these types of special interest office jobs are suitable for autistics, because I think not, because of the human or political nature of them, and also the sensory nature of them, to sit in an office for such a long time surrounded by people who, most of you, are not going to be liking you. I think that's the big issue. In general, I would say that there are 3-4 factors which would really decide if you are suitable for an office job based on your special interests or your special skills as an autistic person. One is definitely the fact how agreeable you are. So basically, I don't know, the autistic people I know, including myself, are really not agreeable, highly, highly disagreeable, which is going to be a ticking bomb pretty much in any 9 to 5 job. So you're not going to be having a very long career in at any company, to be honest, being not agreeable. So I think this is an issue. There might be, I don't know, there might be a lot of autistic people, and they should definitely let me know in the comments if those who are highly agreeable. I don't think agreeableness is an autistic trait. I think autistic people, at least in my experience, are at least moderately disagreeable, if not highly disagreeable. Maybe autistic guys even more so, highly disagreeable, which is a disaster in any corporate structure. So I think this is definitely the most important factor, how agreeable you are. The second one is definitely creativity, because if you are creative, or at least moderately or highly creative, you're also going to be suffering, because corporate life is about anything but creativity. You are not going to be able to exploit your creativity. Maybe I could imagine that if you're like, let's say, a designer or product designer or graphic designer working for a corporation, let's say at least in a hybrid or a fully remote structure, that could be a decent deal. That could definitely be a decent deal. But otherwise, let's say being like a marketing creative, or like even like a product designer or whatever, something like that, or R&D positions, you are so much bound by corporate rules and guidelines and whatever, that your creativity, you can basically seal it off and throw it away on the first day pretty much. So this is my experience, at least. So agreeableness, creativity, definitely. Sensory issues or sensory sensitivity, definitely also a big factor, I would say. So if you don't like loud environments, or sounds and lights, whatever, which are basically always the case for any office scenario, or open office even more so, then you are going to be suffering in an office. I mean, everybody's suffering in office, especially open office, but I think autistic people are going to be suffering even more so. So that's also definitely something to consider. Monotonity and basically professional challenge, I think it depends on really on the skill set. So I think there is like a huge freedom. I could imagine, for example, like autistic people enjoying like gardening or like handyman jobs where actually you have the freedom. You might have a boss. You might even not have a boss because you might be like independent. But even if you have a boss, they're not going to be directly there. You basically spend your whole day alone, probably out in the nature, which is calming and soothing mostly either way. And you do your job. It has a visible result, and that's it. And you are not being micromanaged every second or minute of your life. So I think these type of jobs could be decent. Um, and yeah, so these type of gardening handyman jobs, independent handyman jobs, as I said, creative or office jobs with a fully remote setup could also be a good option. Or, as you might already know based on my earlier videos, I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurship. So I think actually that's probably the most suitable career path for most autistics, is to become independent, become a freelancer or entrepreneur, start a small company, be it online services, be it coaching, be it graphic design, be it whatever, even like niche handyman or manual things. It can be cosmetics, it can be I'm starting a custom sweets company pretty much at this point. Software engineering, the same. So basically, I think this is probably the best case career scenario to become independent and start a small company. But I don't want to speak too long to here because already almost at 13 minutes now here. The gist here today is what I wanted to talk about is that most of the career advice for autistics, in my opinion, or at least in my experience, is utter and complete BS. It's nonsense. It's not true. It might have been true like in the 80s or like, I don't know, 30s. But especially since internet and social media and modern corporate structures, it is not true. If you are an autist and you're highly skilled, you're creative, you are going to be suffering as an engineer or marketing specialist or an R&D leader or even a scientist in any type of office environment, because nowadays your actually work quality and input is probably like 1/3 of your success at any company, and 2/3 is networking, politics, people pleasing, and being agreeable, which I think is not necessarily the strong points for most autistics. So yes, that was my little bit of brainstorming today. I'm very keen on hearing your opinions, what your career paths have been so far, and whether you agree with me or not. I definitely want to make a lot more videos on jobs and careers, because I think this is definitely probably the make or break point for most autistics, whether they're going to have a satisfactory life or a life of suffering and burnouts. So stay focused, be chill, I would say, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.